Hello, 6th grade. This is your art video for project number 10. And today you're going to do the house that's supposed to be added to the background that you did on the last project. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our perspective, a 2-point perspective, or not 2-point, 1-point perspective for the in order to create the house. And the size doesn't really matter so much, although you don't want to do something that's so small that you can barely see it. I'm going to do something that's going to be similar to the size here. And so the first thing you need, of course, is a ruler, and to get a ruler or some kind of a straight edge in order to create what you need to do. And so with that, then, what I'm doing is starting with my perspective line. Now you see this one is down here, and I want it to where you've got it. You need it really, and I think I'm going to make it a little bit below. I want it similar to this one. It doesn't have to be exactly like that one, or it can be this one here, where you have the roof line above and the bottom below. And so I'll create my straight line first. This is my perspective line. Okay, I'll put my perspective point and probably some here. Now here it gives you, make the blue and orange lines parallel to the edge of the paper. Okay, and so in order to make it, you make them parallel, but you also make them perpendicular, parallel to the edge of the paper, but perpendicular to this line basically. And so here's one edge here of the house, and then I'll make my other edge, the front of it, right here. Don't have to be exactly the same length, you know, but be close as you can. And then you have one smaller one here. Now the way to make the smaller one is to go ahead and make your perspective line. And I'm going to make this one right here for that part. And so now you can see that I have this extra here, which is fine. I'm going to go ahead and get this one across so I know exactly where to meet it on this other line. And then I'm going to do the same thing up here. This is my perspective line here for the bottom of the kind of the corner there of the roof area. Now you notice that the roof itself comes over, but we're going to go ahead and just do what it's telling us to do right now. We'll make up for that roof line a little bit later. So you put this over. All right, and then I've got my perspective there. All right, so I've got those lines, and then it asks me to sort of make, if you notice here, this line, so my other vertical line that I have, which is basically the back of the house, I'm going to put here. Okay, so it gives you the back of the house there, and then I'm going to use that as I make this line here, which would be my line that goes to the perspective point. The back, now I've got this part, which is my back end, and I'm going to connect it to the back end of the other side of the house. Okay, and so now I have my somewhat similar, and I think I actually need to put that a little bit lower as far as the angle. Okay, so now I have my perspective line, which is pretty even. I'm going to erase the other lines that I have here that were not necessary. Okay. All right, and so that line there, which I'm going to darken a little bit again. Alright, so I've got my box for my foundation of my house, so to speak. And then I go to the back side for the instructions. And on the back side, it has me make an X on that rectangle. Alright, so I do that. I make my X. What I'm trying to do is find the center of that front rectangle. Alright, so I have that center, and then it has me on the next step to make a, sort of a dotted vertical line. All the way to the top of the paper, basically. All right, so I've got my dotted vertical line there. All right, then what it's asking me to do is to make the point of the roof of the house. Now, you notice I don't need to go all the way up here for the point of the roof of the house. I'm going to make it in perspective. I'm going to make the point about right here. Okay, and so I'm going to join then the corners of the house to the roof at that point. All right, and then and so you see there, and then I'm going to draw my perspective line from the roof of the house to the perspective point. All right, and so draw that line. Okay, so now the next thing is to get that back end part here, because this is going to be the back end of my roof. So I take my this line here, number 5, and I'm going to sort of design my back rectangle. It's going to be in perspective to this one. Doesn't have to be exact. And I think what they do is they use where it crosses the back end, and so I'm going to do the same thing. And so I'm going to make my back end rectangle. Remember, these are all going to be pretty much disappearing eventually. Then I'll make my X, which will give me the center of that back rectangle. And now I'm going to draw a vertical line up to where the point of the roof is. Okay, and so there's the back end of my roof. And so now from that back end, I'm going to draw the back end of the roof to the back corner of the house. Okay, so now you can see the house, roof front, roof back. Notice that it doesn't look, these are all angled for that perspective point, and so it doesn't really look exactly the way it's supposed to, I mean the way you would imagine it looking. It looks correct. It is correct this way. So now I'm going to get rid of these. So I've gotten all my lines now. Notice that they did put the roof a little bit further out, and so I just noticed that they did that. I don't know when they did that. Oh, when they did the roof lines, they put them a little bit further out, past where this first line was. So make sure you do that. Just go ahead and extend it out there, and this one as well. All right, now you notice that the next thing that they do is they get rid of all of the other lines that are there. All right, in fact, if you look at the instructions, let's see, it doesn't really have, I guess all the instructions are just these numbers here. And so then you're going to erase all these extra lines that you have. For instance, everything from the house back to the perspective point is going to be erased. All right, and so now you can see the house is really starting to take shape here. I do have the bottom of the roof, so I'm going to erase that line, erase these cross lines, because the only thing left after this is one or two things, depending on how you're going to do this. I'm not expecting you to have to color your house. You don't need to do that, but I do need you to. You do need to make sure you create the house, even if you leave it without color. Create it and put it on the front. I'm sorry, not on the front. That you put it on the what was I trying to say? Well, anyway, we'll just leave it. That you put it on your background if you have your background. If you're not going to do your background, then you need to turn in like it is. You're not graded on the background on this part. You're only graded on the actual design of the house itself. So now you see that this one has a pretty good design perspective. I've got my roof line in the front here, that part where it goes across. Then I have the roof line came lower, so I'm going to put that maybe a little bit lower, but not much. Okay, and then this point to that perspective line. Then I'm going to draw the bottom of my roof line. Now, if you notice, you can see now it's gone past, so the roof line has come down, which is good. It's exactly what you want to happen. And so, get rid of these little lines in here. All right, and then so basically this is the last thing, except for one more thing, and the one more thing is to create where your doors and windows would be using the guides. And so you notice that it has door and window here, but in order to do that, you have to have the guides. You see how they're all lined up to the perspective point that was there. So we're going to go ahead and put our doors and windows, window lines. And so I'll make this one first. Now you notice that the door is going to be, the bottom is going to be different than the bottoms of the windows, obviously, because the door goes to the bottom. All right, so I have that. And then I'm going to use perspective lines from here. And from here. Oops. Wrong perspective line, I forgot to hit the point. Okay, so alright, so now I've got my perspective lines for the windows. And so all I need to do then, as you see where my windows are, everything's going to be a vertical line from there. So I'll create my big window on this side. Alright, so there's my window. Now I can dress up the window, and I, this one actually may not have made, so I don't like where I put my top part of the window, so I'm going to change it. So I'm going to make it a little bit higher. Make the window a little bit higher than where I had it. That's what an eraser is for. If you do something and it doesn't look good, then you go ahead and change it. It didn't look horrible, but it was not what I liked. And so now I've got my window. I've got my vertical window line. You notice that they have little added edging, and in the middle they've got a little the sash, basically, which is sort of the middle part between the it's not the, I mean, this, I don't know if that's really sash, but anyway, middle part between here, they've got some shutters that they've put in, and so I'll put some shutters in here. But then on this side here, and so I've got my windows, and so this side, your windows, and you've got to sort of even them out as much as possible. So I've got one edge of the window there. I'm gonna put my door right in the middle. So about right here, I'm gonna put the middle of the door. So I'm gonna put one edge of the door here, one edge of the door here, right now, and then my window. So I can see my window here. Then I've got my other window here, and here. Now, of course, as they go away, the windows are going to seem smaller because they're further away. All right, so now I've got basically everything done that I need to get done. So I am going to, since my roof line is done, the one thing that you want to do is, I'll leave my perspective point. You notice that on the roof, on the shingles, every shingle will also be in line with the perspective point, because it's all going to be at strange angles. Now, so I'm going to do this. You'll notice that it sort of angles itself as you're doing these, because once you get to the bottom here, you're completely on the other side. And this is something you can play with, and you can really only You don't need to go all the way across with the perspective lines. You only need to go to the edge of the roof, and you'll have to play with it a little bit because you can see that these are a little bit bigger than what the ones up here are. So whatever it is that you feel like, and maybe I have too many, and I can make them wider, which would probably be easier actually. And so I'll make mine a little bit wider than my roof shingles. We'll call them cedar shake roof shingles. And you can really see the angling of the roof shingles now. That's okay. That's good. That gives you a little bit better perspective of how the roof changes. You don't have to draw so many lines either. I think it looks a little bit better that way. Okay, and so I'll get rid of this here. Alright, so now I've got my roof shingles, and of course you can play with this and do sort of yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. Alright, so this is basically what you have to have done, and you can dress it up a little bit and create your little window things. But remember, everything on this side has to be pointing toward the perspective, so I'm going to angle that. So I have my shutters over here, my door frame, a door knob. I'm going to have my door opening on this side. Okay, you can make yourself a little front porch step if you want. Maybe have it like this. And have another step here. Okay, and then you can put your little rest of your door frame here, the lintel of the door, and then this part and this part here. Alright, so there you go. That's your project for this particular week, and it's not really due until the Monday we come back from spring break, so if you wanted to take time over the spring break to do that, that would be fine. Alright, have a good day. See you tomorrow. Bye.